As we consider another of the I am statements of Jesus today, I am the resurrection and the life, a reading first from the Old Testament, the book of Job, chapter 19, verses 23 through 27. Imagine these words not only being read here, but as I very, very often do, reading them at a funeral. Oh, that my words were recorded, that they were written on a scroll, that they were inscribed with an iron tool on lead, or engraved in rock forever. I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand on the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I myself will see him with my own eyes, I and not another. How my heart yearns within me. And now from the Gospel of John, the 11th chapter, the very familiar story of the resurrection of Lazarus from the dead, the occasion for Jesus saying, I am the resurrection and the life. Beginning our reading at verse 17. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now, Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now, Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house comforting her noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him. But some of them said, could not the one who opened the eyes of the blind have kept this man from dying? Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. Take away the stone, he said. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man, by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days. Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." Now we're going to think this morning about that statement, "I am the resurrection and the life." But I will be doing some imagining during this message, and I want to explain it before I do it. Even Sunday school kids know that the shortest verse in the Bible is John 11:35, Jesus wept. But I want to point out that both before and after that text, we read that Jesus was deeply moved in spirit. It was a revelation to me to know that the word behind those English words, the word in Greek, refers sometimes to the snorting of a horse. If you've ever heard it, you know that it seems to come from the tail all the way up to the head, and all of a sudden, in an involuntary movement, the horse's head shakes and a snort comes out. It's like uncontrollable air. That's what happened to Jesus. He didn't just have a few tears running down his face. He was overcome with emotion. And the crying came from deep within him and burst out involuntarily twice at that grave, where he felt what they felt. And I want you to feel him feeling it today, and let that be part of the message. So I'm imagining words between lines, but I think there's justification for it, because the emotion in the words themselves speak those words. Listen with that in mind today.